Oh, yeah. Freak out. Yeah, I'm looking right into the video scope, And this is Macho Man, #1 Macho Man impersonator, past, present, future, yeah. And I'm here to tell you, you are watching 49er Minded with Bashar. Yeah, the cream of the crop. Dig it?
49er Minded. It's not just a thought process, but a way of life. 49er Minded. 49er Minded. Can't shake it. It's 49er mind that I got. It's 49er shine that I got. My psyche's on another Frisco. Super Bowl, don't sit slow, cause here we go with a super show. A written go session about our red and gold obsession. With some well-controlled expressions, let's talk about that win that we got. Who should have been in the spot? That's how it's been in the spot. Just all that back, all that crack, all that strip, fumble sack, or just dial it on up if you wanna talk smack. It don't matter what the storyline, as long as the story aligns with a 49er mind. 49er minded. It's not just a thought process, 49er minded, but a way of life. For sure. 49er minded. Way of life. 49er minded.
What is up, everybody? Welcome to another edition of 49er Minded, where we get into the minds of 49er fans. There's a lot of people waiting patiently in the chat, so let me say what's up to them first before we get things started. Joey's been here for quite some time. He's been waiting. We got David Sousa. What's up, dude? Says, let's go, Vamos 49ers. Melissa in the building says, Jesse and Bash, let's fucking go. Well, I dropped the F-bomb already. I didn't mean to do it. My bad. But 49ers throwback, always good to have you, bro. 49ers Chanel, what's up? We got Cowboy Angel. Who else we got? We got E-Kim. What's up, E-Kim? How you doing? And yes, we got Jesse here. How you doing, bro?
I'm doing fantastic, man. Thank you for having me on. I'm glad we could make this thing work. It's been a while, bro.
It's been a while, and not only that, but I've messaged you a few other times to try to get things going, but our schedules didn't always fit and didn't always match. So it's good to finally get this out of the way. And yeah, there's plenty to talk about in Ninerland, and it's funny because it's like the perfect time right now. You're like the man of the hour on Twitter, and so we're gonna get into that a little bit later. It wasn't planned like that. I just wanted to, I was like long overdue. I was like, man, I gotta get Jesse on here, man. So let's say what's up to Mariah from 49er Faithful Lead Podcast.
What's
How
up,
you doing,
Mariah?
girl? She has an amazing show with her and TL. They always have their little giveaways. They were just on not too long ago, and it's always a lot of fun checking them out. 49er Throwbacks says Go Warriors. Yeah, I hear they're playing tonight, but I'm not. I'll catch it later. Yeah, so who else is here? Oh, we got 49er First Takes. Aaron, what's up, bro?
Hey,
yeah,
Aaron.
there he is right there.
Some feedback, by the way. Love that background. It's so sick. That's a good little setup you got going there. I love it. I love the change.
Yeah, I like his background too, actually. He might change it up just a little bit to make it even better, actually. That's what you guys know. That's what he was telling me. But yeah, since before we get into the Niner talk, I always like to get in my little feeler questions. I got a couple of them today, just to break the ice a little bit. If you notice, I got my new 49er Minded song intro. The song was done by 49er dude, who's a hip hop artist for the 49er Empire community, and in general, it's kind of funny.
Song.
I love hip hop. I grew up with it, and it's kind of funny though because I feature a lot of the 49er hip hop artists on my show, but aside from that, as far as like rap that you listen to on the radio, or as far as hip hop that's currently out, I don't know. I don't know if I feel like an old man or something, but it's almost like the vibes I get. Like, damn, hip hop was so much better in the late '80s and the '90s and early 2000s, and like, I don't know, man. Is it like? I know you like to make beats and all that, and you're into hip hop as well, but like, is there any good hip hop out right now, man? In your opinion,
man. First of all, it's like the old man saying, "Get off my lawn. My generation was better than yours." By the way, every generation goes through this. It just shows that we're really old. I agree with you. I will say this: a guy that I've been really following for probably about 7 years now, and he just blew up maybe 2 or 3 years ago. Really started to get a lot of play on the radio. He actually toured with Logic. He was opening for him for about a year, and everybody just said that he continually stole the show. His performances are amazing. NF. If you haven't listened to NF, He's unique because he doesn't cuss, but he is so fire, and he puts so much effort into his videography. If you listen to his beats, they're so dynamic, they're so good, and everything he does is so incredible. He's a true artist of the game. NF. Go check him out if you don't know for some reason who he is.
It's good that I brought this question up because I had no idea who that guy is. So
there you go.
I'm gonna have to do my research and check it out. And it's funny because you say that the whole thing where he doesn't cuss or whatever, anything like that. Like when I was doing stand-up comedy, like the mark of a true, really good stand-up comedian. Like if you could put out clean comedy, you could write a clean comedy set and still have everybody laughing like crazy. That means you're a pretty damn good comedian.
Yeah, so. I think cussing is a filler word a lot of the time. It's like, okay, I ran out of something to say, so I'm going to cuss. And when I was younger, obviously, I still will listen to rap that has it. But as I've gotten older, I've kind of swayed away from that. I used to be the worst. I would cuss all the time, whatever. But I really try to clean that up over the years, and because it doesn't come across intelligent when you do it a ton. I'm not saying you can't cuss at all, but if you cuss all the time, it just doesn't come across as intelligent. And that's just my personal opinion. So for me, I really worked hard on cleaning that up and getting that out of my vocabulary. And then also as a man of Christ and really, trying to be good in my faith, try my best for that as well. And so a lot of that means that some of that secular music just doesn't catch my ear the way that it normally would.
I got you. So before we get into the football talk, I got to drop a pizza question now. That's what I do on here. I don't know if you saw my recent video. Every now and then I'll put out shorts of my cooking, and I do it on Instagram, put it on Twitter on here. I'll put it on YouTube, and put a recent pizza one. I'll probably do another one next time I make pizza. But what's your go-to spot? Let's say, because I know you live in the Florida area, right? And you also grew up in Oregon. What are your go-to spots in Florida and over in Oregon?
I haven't found one here in Florida, but in Oregon, there's a spot called Flying Pie Pizza. And they're known for, first of all, just making gigantic pizzas. And the meat is incredible. Like you get, pause by the way, sausage on a pizza. And it's like, chunks. It's like little sausage patties on the pizza. It's incredible, but it's also really, really good. And they have a lot of unique side dishes that you can get with the pizza. Flying Pie Pizza in Oregon, if you're ever in Oregon, highly, highly recommend it.
Is it New York style? Because usually if it's a big giant pizza, they'd make it New York
It's not
style.
New York style. It is not New York style at all. It's a thicker crust. It's probably more, I guess if you're going to compare, probably more of a hand tossed type crust, but it's very, very good. I'm not a big New York pizza guy personally.
I love New York pizza. But then again, all pizza is good to me as long as it's good pizza.
It's good. It's good. Don't get me wrong, but it's not my favorite. I'm a Chicago crust type person. So, and
it's funny, people in New York call it lasagna, but I love Chicago deep dish. Done properly, I love it. Let me see what's up to some people that just got in, and we're going to get into the football talk. We just did our little icebreakers. I always like to do that fun stuff. Without a doubt, it's just part of me. So we got Swan Song. Been a long time since I've seen you on here. I love having you on here. We got Ryan. Oh, we got John Lynch. Hey, where's Kyle Shanahan at? John Lynch says, what's good? This is the John Lynch.
This is the official John Lynch on Twitter. John Hell yeah.
John Lynch, as I like to say. We got Ryan for Notable Border Sports. He says, my grandma lives in Gresham. Okay, that's some part of Oregon.
Okay, so there's a Flying Pie out there. I'm sure she knows where it's at. I wonder where in Gresham she lives, but there is a Flying Pie out in Gresham. So I'm sure that she's been there or heard of it.
Okay, and this is kind of racy, but I think it's funny at the same time. He also says pizza is like sex. Even when it's bad, it's good. Yeah, you can get those Tombstone kind of frozen pizzas every now and then, You're drunk, you got nothing else to eat. I don't know, Red Baron.
I'll mess with the Tombstone pizza
Totino's,
for sure.
Those, I don't know, whatever you got out there. But let me just share my screen really quick because it's going to get into what we're going to talk about. And there's a lot of buzz about this going on right now. I think you might know what I'm talking about, but
haven't heard of it.
yeah, some of the people on here may have not heard of it. If you've been busy with your daily lives and not following 49ers 24/7 like us crazy folk do, you may have been oblivious to what's going on. But I'm going to go ahead and share my screen and clue a few people in and let them know what's happening in the NFL Twitter world, courtesy of Jessie Naylor. Here we go.
So there's a tweet going around saying 49ers 9-time Pro Bowl left tackle is tipping plays based on his stance. Let me tell you why it doesn't matter. As a defender, even if I wanted to pick up on Trent Williams' cue, here's what goes on before every snap. Mike linebacker, you get the call in from the sideline. You relay the call to the rest of the players on the football field that play defense. After you get the call in, you relay the call. Then you have to check, hey, what down is it and what distance is it? That'll tell you what the offense is kind of likely to run. After you get the call, you relay the call, you check the down and distance. Now you have to check, hey, what personnel group is on the field for the offense? 3 wide receivers, 2 wide receivers, 4 wide receivers. Okay, after you get the call, you relay the call, you check the down and distance, you check what personnel group is on the field for the offense. Now you have to figure out, based upon the offensive formation, hey, what coverage are you in? If it's a 2-by-2 formation, 2 wide receivers on each side, you might be in cover 4. If it's a 3-by-1 formation, 3 wide receivers on one side, you might be in cover 3. Okay, after you've gotten the call, you relay the call, you've checked the down and distance, you check what personnel grouping they're in, and you check what the formation is. Now, depending on how much time is on the play clock, you can now start to see what offensive cues do you have. Does the quarterback have his mouthpiece in? Does he not have his mouthpiece in? Is there a lot of weight on the guard's hand, or is the guard sitting light on his hand because he might be pulling to run a power play? If I check and see Trent Williams is in a stance that might tell me what kind of play it is, great, that might give me a cue. But even after I know this cue, I got to relay what I've learned to everybody else. Furthermore, I better be right, because if I am wrong about what I think I see from Trent Williams, what am I going to do? Go to the sideline? Coach, what the hell happened? That's what the coach is going to say. Hey, what the hell happened? My bad, coach. I thought I seen Trent Williams' back was at a 65-degree angle instead of a 60-degree angle, so I thought it was going to be a run instead of a pass. And in the event, you get the call, you relay the call, you check the down and distance, you check the formation, you identify whether they're moving in motion or not, because you got to figure out if they're in 2-by-2 or 3-by-1. You identify that Trent Williams' back angle's at 65 degrees and not 70. You still have to beat a 6'5", 330-pound man.
So for those of you guys that don't know, that's Emmanuel Acho, former NFL player from the NFL Network, and he had Jessie Naylor, my guest right here, his tweet on his screen, and you must have really got under his must have really ruffled his feathers with that tweet for him to make that extensive video. But you're the man of the hour right now on Twitter, man. Everybody's talking about it.
He actually, by the way, I am not a fan of his from his Trey Lance takes, but I will say I responded back to him and said, hey, let's be clear here. You're talking about Trent Williams. I'm not worried about Trent Williams. I'm worried about the players around him. I'm also worried about things like 1st and 10 when he's doing it, play action, that type of stuff. And he did respond. He actually responded and said, hey, this is a lot to unpack. First of all, it is a tell. He agreed it is a tell. It's not nothing, but that there's a lot to unpack and it's way too much to do it in text form on Twitter. Said, all right, fair enough. You can DM me if you want. Never got the DM, but I'll say this. A few things to just pick apart a little bit of what he said. Obviously, he played defense in the NFL. He knows what he's talking about. But I gotta imagine that a few things. One, if there are tells and you know about tells, you pick that up in the film session, you know about it going into the game, which means multiple people can look for it. It doesn't have to be one person. If you got a corner or two on the outside and they're close to Trent Williams, they can peek over and see, okay, his leg's back or it's not. Okay, so it doesn't have to be one guy communicating to everybody. It could be, hey, we already know going into the game, this is a tell. So these guys that are closest are going to be just peeking over and seeing what it is and trying to get an idea of what's going on to see if they can get tipped off. The other thing is this, a lot of what he said will happen before you break the huddle. You don't get lined up and then get the call in your ear and then relay the call and then check personnel and do all those other things he talked about. Some of that happens while teams are in the huddle. Your coach, your defensive coach, by the way, when he's calling the play, probably sees the personnel. That's why he's called the play that he's called. He gives that to the linebacker. The linebacker relays that to the team, and then you break the huddle and you come up to the line of scrimmage. Now, all the other stuff about 2x2 and 3x1 and all, yes, of course, motion and all, there's a lot. I'm not saying there's still not a lot that you got to figure out before you're looking for tells, but I feel like he over embellished how much happens prior to breaking the huddle and how much happens after you break the huddle. That's just my personal opinion about it.
Yeah, I mean, and I don't have access to the all 22s. And I'm not like a lot of the other guys who do analyze it. And I do appreciate when you guys do that, because a lot of you guys do drop videos on Twitter and say, hey, look what happened here. Look what happened there. Check this out. Check out Aaron Banks. Look how good he's doing. Look how well he's progressing. Things like that. But in your opinion, when you're watching those plays that were tipped by Trent Williams, were we successful? On those offensive plays, or do you think that were there a lot of stops on those plays where he was tipping them to the defense?
To be completely honest, I wasn't looking for that. Like, that's probably the next step, the evolution. I was just here's how the whole thing went down. So I was getting ready to make a video for my members on the channel. And I was like, let's look at Deebo Samuel specifically. Like, for a whole game, let's look at Deebo Samuel. And I got, halfway through the film ish. And I was like, first of all, this is really boring just watching Deebo. And not because Deebo's not dynamic, but what they do with him is so vanilla. I was like, oh my gosh, this is like pulling teeth. This is not fun to do. And so I would start to drift and watch other things. And I look over and I see Trent Williams doing what the Bears defender talked about in week 1. And I'm like, you know what? I would think that this would have been cleaned up if it was an actual tell. Let's start watching it. So I watch it for a few plays and I start trying to guess what's going to happen based off of his stance. And I'm like, okay, there's 4 plays I got, 5 plays, 6 plays. And then I make it through the film and I realize I maybe missed a play or 2, but I got pretty much every play call right from a run or pass standpoint based off of that leg. And I'm like, that can't be good. If I can do that, there's no way that defenses don't know what's coming. So let me throw it out there. It's still an issue. I never once expected that it would blow up or anything like that. What I will do sometimes is I'll put something out on Twitter. If I get a lot of engagement, I'm like, okay, I should probably make a video about this. This is a sign that people want to hear about this. So let me make a video. So that night, the first night I went out, not last night, but the night before, I was like, this is getting some good traction. I'll make a video about it and I'll put it out tomorrow morning. So I made the video, didn't think much of it. Yesterday came around early in the day. It was, a little traction. Then all of a sudden it just started blowing up. And I got to be honest, I missed Emmanuel Acho's comment. I missed Schwartz's comment. I missed Whitworth's comment. Like, the NFL play, I didn't see any of their comments because it was just coming through so fast that you just couldn't keep up with it. It was like boom, 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 boom. And so literally I would just click my thing. When I would go into Twitter, I'd click it, roll to the top, and just clear it out. Because I hate having the little red thing that says you got messages. So I just cleared through it. I wasn't reading any of it. And then once things started to slow down a little bit, people were tagging me like, oh, these NFL players are talking about it and you're big time and this and that. And I'm like, what are you talking about? And so I start to go through. I'm like, oh, snap. Well, this was like 6 hours ago. I completely missed all this. So anyways, that's the story of how it happened, why it happened. I don't know. I didn't think it would get that big. And I respect, obviously I'm going to respect what NFL players say. They played the game. I'm not trying to come across as smarter than them. My whole thought process behind this, though, Bashar, is it's certainly not a positive thing. There's nobody that can sell me this as a positive. The players that I talked to and other experts that chimed in that I talked to all admitted this is a tell. Yes. Okay, so let's get past that. We all agree it's a tell. We can all agree it's not a good thing. But then everybody also came to the conclusion that it doesn't matter at all. And I'm like, doesn't matter at all? Nothing? You're telling me it means nothing. Literally nothing. So my question is, why would a Bears rookie who's a 5th round pick have 1.5 sacks this season. Both came in the 49er game, by the way. Hasn't had a sack since. And he talked about this being a tell. Why would he bring it up and credit that as to the reason why he played well in week 1 if it was nothing? And why does everybody agree that it is a tell, but it means nothing? I'm not saying that it means everything. That's not what I'm trying to say, but it means nothing. I have a hard time believing that. That's just me personally.
Yeah, I'm with you on that. And with a guy like Trent Williams, he's probably so confident in his own abilities that he doesn't care all that much. Ryan said something right here for No Border Sports. He said, "Imagine if Jesse's tweet changes Trent Williams' tactics. You never know. Hey, it could, man. Hey, but it could possibly benefit the team. You never know. But like he said, right, it may not matter for Trent Williams so much, but it could matter for other people on the line. They could go blitz over to Mcglinchey's side, and since they know it's a pass play and do whatever." And an interesting comment here from Royal. I've never seen you on here before, but welcome to the channel. Right off the bat, though, he says, "Good night, guys."
Says I'm out of here.
I'm gonna go nice stream, is what he says. I'm sorry that I do apologize that we couldn't fulfill your needs. I do try my best to put out the best content and bring on great guests from there every now and then. But hey, if we're not your cup of tea or we're not your flavor, there's plenty of other options out there in the world of YouTube, baby. So let's go.
It looks like he's a Giants fan. So the fact that he's even in a 49er thing is pretty legit.
Okay, New York. All right. I don't know. Who knows? But hey, sorry. But John V, what's up, bro? How you doing? He said he totally over embellished it, no doubt. He's referring to Emmanuel Ocho.
Ocho, yeah.
John V is from the Locker Room Rant. Check out his channel. Subscribe to his channel. He's a 49er fan, diehard 49er fan. I tell him he's the voice of Danny Bonaducci. He's just got these loud rants, and he's always yelling. He's extremely passionate. On his channel, he's got his best friends that he grew up with. One's a Browns fan. One's a Buffalo Bills fan. Excellent content. Subscribe to him. Watch him. You're going to love it. Who else is here? We got Kenny from the Pacific Northwest. He's over in Oregon,
What's
actually.
Up, Kenny?
Big running back guy. He loves the fact that we got CMC and Elijah Mitchell back in the mix.
I'm gonna be back in Oregon this week for Thanksgiving, so I'll be in your neck of the woods.
There you go. Awesome. Yeah, I definitely know that you're from out there. So we got a new person to the channel. Kieran, welcome to the channel. Says, thank you, man. Jesse. You put in the work. Glad you put this out. Great job. Oh, yeah. We love what Jesse does. Jesse's just a really, really awesome dude, by the way. I like to say that I call you a friend. You know, we share a lot of the same beliefs, and we're both diehard Niner fans and really, really good people. You know, that's the thing. I always love having people on here. And if you notice, the majority of people I have on here are just people that it's the conversation, the flow is just organic. You know what I mean? I never feel like it's like awkward. I just feel like I'm just
forced. Yeah.
I always feel like I'm talking to a friend whenever I have somebody on here. We're fortunate to have so many great 49er fans in this community that make it easy for all of us in that respect. Let me just say what's up here, because there's a lot of funny, interesting things going on. Really, really quick. We could touch on this really quick. We're not going to take too long, but I haven't heard too much of it lately, but there is that OBJ rumor that was floating around. I never knew what your stance on it was. Yay or nay? Would you sign him, or would you not go for it? What do you think?
Yeah. Yes, but with stipulations. If it is a 1-year deal, just the rest of the season, I am all for it. Definitely bring in OBJ. It never hurts to have too much talent, and I would love to have OBJ on this team. However, it did come out that he was looking for a multi-year deal. Now, he may not get that from anybody, but he's looking for a multi-year deal, and he was citing Michael Gallup in his deal, saying, hey, look, he came off of a major injury. Look how good he is, blah, 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 blah. I want a deal similar. But Michael Gallup is much younger, and he's not coming off of multiple ACL tears. My thought process is I'm not going to be the team that risks, if OBJ is not OBJ, coming off of a second ACL and being 30 years old. I'm not going to be that team that is hamstrung by being with him for the next 2 years if he can't be that player. So I would rather be wrong and let him explode on another team than be wrong and have him fail on my team. That's my thought process if it's a multi-year deal.
Yeah, my whole thing with OBJ is obviously I see it as a luxury. I would only have done it if it was a cheapo type deal, but now that you're mentioning multi-year deal, it doesn't even sound like it's even a possibility. I don't see the 49ers going that route at all. On the topic of wide receivers, this guy in the comment made a great comment. Just it was a it's not connected to OBJ, but it's definitely about wide receivers. And he's a huge Danny Gray supporter. Joseph Mahoney says, I'm still heartbreaking. No Danny Gray yet this season. What's your take on us? I love the Danny Gray pick personally when we picked him, but it's been a disappointment since we haven't seen him. But what's your take on the whole situation?
Yeah, I like the Danny Gray pick as well. My thought process is that first of all, Shanahan does not like playing rookies unless he has to. He's got something against it. But credit to him, he does a great job developing players. That organization has done a great job developing players, so it's working. The reason that Danny Gray, in my opinion, is not playing is because he's not a good run blocker. He's just not. When he's out there, he looks lost in run blocking. When you look at Ray McLeod, who is getting reps over him, I mean, that's really the competition. Is Ray going to play or is he going to play? Is Jennings going to play or is Gray going to play? Well, first of all, we know Jennings is a third down monster. He proved it again this last week. And he's a very good blocker, and he's a bigger man, so he should be. Ray is small, but man, he is not only a willing blocker, but he's actually a pretty good blocker. And that's important in this offense. You have to be a willing blocker and you have to be a good blocker. I think Danny Gray is probably willing. You see that he tries. He's just not good at it. Not yet. And I assume that they will develop that in him. And next year, you'll probably see a much more refined player all the way around. I think probably a better route runner, the blocking, all that. I think personally has nothing to do with his receiving ability. I just don't think he's a good run blocker, and they don't want that out there on the field. They consider that a liability right now.
And there's also the whole factor where you almost feel like they drafted Danny Gray to be used with Trey Lance. You know, Trey Lance is obviously one of the specialties is throwing the long ball. It's definitely not a strength for Jimmy. So that probably plays into account. I was kind of hoping that we'd at least find ways to get Danny Gray involved in some jet sweep type action, just some little type ways that we could use his speed to scheme around it. But looks like we're not even doing that. So yeah, it's kind of unfortunate for those who were hyped up to see Danny Gray this year. I was one of them, but it's kind of one of those things where we have to wait till next year. We redshirt certain players from time to time. We did it with Aaron Banks, of course, but hey, look at Banks this year, right?
Yeah, absolutely. He does it with a lot of. I mean, Hufanga did play last year, but they would have probably preferred that he didn't play a lot if he didn't have to.
Mainly, special
obviously,
teams
Trey Lance. We see this. He doesn't like to play rookies unless he has to.
Definitely. Since I mentioned Trey Lance, I mean, what's your whole take on obviously he got injured and he's off crutches now, right? And where's John Lynch at? Because John Lynch is he didn't type about it in the chat, but this guy right here, this John Lynch, the real John Lynch, the John Lynch that we know, he's all about. If you see him on Twitter, he's all about speculating that Trey Lance could be fully healthy by week 12 and yada yada yada. If he's fully healthy by week 12, that means that Shanahan should play him. But I just see it as a total long shot. Like, sure, I love Trey Lance. I'd love to see him be our starting quarterback. But I mean, the more realistic thing is I definitely see Lance as the starter next year. There's a lot of people that think Jimmy's going to be the starter next year. But what's your whole take on the progression of Trey Lance and healing from an injury and the future, perhaps?
So it's funny because last week I got Twitter pissed off at me because I tweeted something similar to Lynch. Not quite as crazy. Okay. I left it very open-ended. All I said was 49er fans might want to start thinking about the possibility of Lance coming back. He's about 4 weeks away from that injury being fully healed based off of what the early diagnosis was. That's it. Very simple. I didn't say he should come back. I didn't say he should start. I said nothing. I just put the thought out there and everybody immediately goes to, he's not playing over Jimmy. This is Jimmy's team. Why would you play him? I'm like, whoa, chill for a second. All I said was you just consider that he might come back. I mean, that window is opening up. And my thought process is this. First of all, I got it on very good accord. What the doctor that wrote, I think it was Niners Nation, shout out to them. They did a write-up. They had talked to a doctor and an orthopedic surgeon who said, this is a 10 to 12 week injury. he could easily be back. Now, if they're deciding not to play him, there might be other reasons outside of an injury. But as far as the injury goes, we're talking 10 to 12 weeks here. Well, I also had heard that same thing prior to that being released. As soon as the injury happened, the night of, I was told 10 to 12 week injury. And then it was corroborated by that doctor. And I said, okay, 10 to 12 week injury. That's what I'm operating under. But Kyle Shanahan comes out day of or day after surgery and he's like, nope, he's done for the season. That did two things. One, it confused people on how IR works. People thought legitimately there's a season-ending IR. There's not. That ended in 2012. And they thought, oh, well, because Kyle said it, that means they just can't bring him back for some, like, that's some magic thing that, can't bring him back because Kyle said a day after that.
I think he just said to shut up the media, though. I think he just wanted to shut the media up.
Exactly. And by the way, smart, good coach. That's actually good coaching, in my opinion. That's good leadership because what he's done is he's taken all pressure off of Trey Lance. There's literally no pressure for Trey Lance to return at this point. And most likely, people are going to respect what Kyle said and not ask him about it and not ask Trey Lance if they see him out in public about it. What I can say is this. Trey Lance was out of a walking boot and walking on his own without crutches 8 weeks after injury. So if it's a 10 to 12 week injury, 10 to 12 week recovery time, let's say the longer side, 12 weeks, that would put him into week 14 this season. Well, we're going into week 11. So if a week and a half ago he was walking on his own, this week we see him all of a sudden miraculously on the sideline, which we hadn't before. And not only that, people are saying that on camera they saw him jumping up and down, like celebrating.
He looked pretty happy out there, which is good to see him finally.
You don't possibly think that maybe in 3 weeks that this man might be fully healthy? We have to remember this is a bone break. It's a bone break. It's not a torn ligament. It's not an ACL injury. The ligament damage he had is equivalent to a high ankle sprain. It's a severe high ankle sprain. Well, high ankle sprain's going to heal in 12 weeks. So it's a bone break. Bones heal. And once they do, there's really no limitation. Orthopedic surgeons will tell you not only to go out and try, go out there and try it, but they actually don't tell you to take it easy. They usually tell you go nuts because it's already healed. There's nothing you're going to do to cause more damage. Go crazy. Like it's a mental thing at this point. Yeah, I think there's a possibility Trey Lance comes back. However, I'm not under the thought process that they should rush him into starting or anything like that. He is the future of this team. So if he is the future, I've got to imagine that every mental rep, every physical rep matters. If he can be the backup quarterback and he can run scout team, I think those reps would be so important for his development. And if heaven forbid Jimmy Garoppolo gets injured, I'd much rather play Trey Lance than Brock Purdy. Only if he is 100% healthy. And if he is medically cleared, I see no reason to not bring him back.
Got you. And John Lynch, I do apologize. You meant week 14. I don't know why I thought I said week 12. But yeah, week 14 obviously makes way more sense. But yeah, I mean, we're going to move on to a different topic really, really quick. It's just that even if Trey Lance is fully healed, again, the body's healed. But all that muscle memory, timing, and to where he was before he got injured, it just doesn't happen overnight. Now if one day, remember when they were saying like last year before we saw him in the Texas game, they were saying that he was shredding the first team defense and with the scout team or whatever. If we start getting those vibes and those rumblings, then you get a better indication of whether he's back to football speed and back to being what he was. So we'll see. I mean, I'm not holding my breath for it. I'd love to see. I wish I could see him out here, but I know I'm not going to see it. But he might be our backup this year. So in the playoff run, and hey, you'll have two pretty much starting caliber quarterbacks as our ready to go. Pretty much how it goes. We got Twisted Eva in the chat. He's got his popcorn. Thank you. Appreciate you watching. I think there was another dude in here.
I haven't seen Twisted Eva in a long time. What's up, bro?
Submit is here. How's it going? Submit. Who else is here? Yeah, we got a lot of people here. We got a full house here. Really appreciate you guys. The chat makes this show happen. If I ever stumble and don't have any notes on my screen, and I'll just glance at the chat and I'll see all kinds of questions and ideas, and we'll just go from there. But we definitely got plenty of notes today, though, because we got this big game over in Mexico. And really, really quick, before we get into the Arizona Cardinals preview, because we're definitely going to get into that, I just want to throw in this little inkling because people were just showing this up on Twitter, on social media, one day Debo and Ayuk went to the Warriors game together, right? And then all of a sudden, the next Warriors games come up and you see Jimmy G there, Kittle there, and Juszczyk and CMC, McCaffrey. And next thing you know, the Warrior girls are coming up to, Jimmy Garoppolo, and everybody's making a big deal about it. But some people were reading into it like, look, see? Trey Lance can't be the quarterback next year because look at all these guys hanging out with Jimmy G at the Warriors game. And that's going to send a wrong message to the locker room. If they made a quarterback switch, there's going to be a divide in the locker room. It's like, dude, like NFL is a whole lot bigger than that. I mean, you'd have a pretty piss poor NFL head coach that should be coaching Pee Wee leagues if that's going to bother him, his decision who goes on the field, who goes out in the field,
Yeah, I agree with that. What I will say is if there's any validity at all to the rumor that Silver put out there that players were not happy that Trey got hurt, but like wanted Jimmy to be the starter on this team, I think we can figure out pretty quickly who those players might be. I'll say that, but that's assuming that is factual, which I don't know. I wasn't there. I can't say if it was or it wasn't. And if it is factual, then at that point, I think we knew going into it who it could be, but to me, this kind of confirms it. And listen, Kittle and Jimmy are really good friends. They're like legit best friends, but that doesn't mean that you can't be a professional and you can't get behind your quarterback regardless of who it is. I do think having Jimmy as the backup complicates things. I do think that you put people in a position where they choose, whether they're doing it intentionally or being malicious, that's different, but it's natural to choose. It's natural to like the guy that kind of got you there. It's natural to want to play with that guy and continue the ride with that guy because he's your friend, he's your teammate, he's all these things. I think Shanahan bringing Jimmy back really put Trey in a bad predicament. And so next year, that's not going to be the case. Hopefully for Jimmy, he gets paid well and is able to go somewhere else and be a starter, and that'll be great for him. But at the end of the day, the 49ers don't have a bunch of money to burn on a quarterback. They need that rookie contract because now you're starting to see the Boses and the Debos and the Armsteads and the Kittles and the Warners. All of these guys, their money is getting paid at the same time. That's why you have a rookie quarterback, to offset some of that cost so that those guys can make their money before you eventually have to hopefully pay Trey Lance because he turns out to be really good himself.
I definitely agree with you. And if that's the case with Kittle and Jimmy does go to another team and Trey Lance is a guy, it doesn't mean Kittle and Jimmy can't be friends anymore.
For sure.
They can still be friends. So, it's a business at the end of the day. The coach isn't necessarily too worried about who's friends with who. That's how I look at it. And the team shouldn't be worried about it either. We got Del Fetty in the house, 49er hip-hop artist. I was mentioning the 49er hip-hop community earlier, how much I love them. That's pretty much the only hip-hop I kind of listen to nowadays. But we'll see. I'll check out that NS guy or NF guy that Jessie was telling me about. Says, I always wanted Jimmy as a backup. What's up, Del Fetty? I had the pleasure of meeting him the night before the Seattle game. Great dude. Had him on my show before I actually met him in person. And he's going to be on my show again in the future. We got Niner by Nature. 88, how you doing, bro? Big supporter of the channel. Love you, bro. Says, bye-bye, Jimmy. Hey, big head at Trey. He's always part of that, man. That whole banter about Trey and Jimmy and all that. What up, 49er Throwback again? And then, 49er Media. What's up, bro? Great to have you on here. You do a lot of good things on your channel and other people's channels. Melissa's here. Izzy, again, what's up? Yeah, so let's get into this game. So we got the Arizona Cardinals playing at Azteca Stadium, Estadio Azteca in Mexico. For my Latino people out there, my Mexicans out there, I'm not part of your culture, but much love and respect for you. You're the people that I grew up with in California, obviously. So, and a huge part of you guys are 49er fans, obviously. So it's a big deal. I mean, they were saying like 82% of the ticket sales is pretty much 49er fans, so it's basically going to be like a 49er crowd.
Of course it is.
Like a home game in a foreign country. How about that?
We knew that.
Definitely. Should be a lot of fun. I mean, it's gonna be Monday night. But what quarterback are we playing in that game? Do you have any insight on that? I mean,
dude, I have no clue. And there's 3 options. Like, most likely it's not going to be Kyler Murray, but we're not sure it's even going to be Colt McCoy at this point. I really don't know. I don't even want to speculate on that. I hope it's Colt McCoy for the fact that I know that would probably get the Niners up to play the most, because he did bring the Cardinals in and upset the 49ers last year. And I think that would give them just enough juice to really not only win this game, but kind of win it handily. But I don't know. We'll see who it is. I think either way, the 49ers should be just fine, though.
Yeah. So is Colt McCoy currently nursing an injury or something? I thought he'd be fully healthy.
I don't know exactly what happened. Schefter had reported he got injured. I don't know if that was in the game. I don't know if that was during practice. I really am not sure on what's going on with Colt McCoy. I caught wind of it a little bit before I went on with Grant, and I haven't looked too far into it.
But what is Kyler's injury exactly? Do you know?
Hamstring.
Okay,
Yeah.
Got you. So we got Brandon Ferreño from Forever Faithful Podcast. He's been on this channel before, collab with him many times. Great dude. I know I missed a few other people. Nicholas Aklades from the Locker Room Rant. He's actually a Browns fan, ladies and gentlemen, but he always defends Jimmy some way, somehow. All roads to victory run through Jimmy. Great, cool dude, though. Randy Daytona, what's up? And yeah, man, it's it. This whole Arizona game. Got a lot of friends going out to the game, so should be a lot of fun. DeAndre Hopkins is right now back in the mix. I think he's played about 3 or 4 games, and he's averaging roughly almost like 100 yards per game. He's going to be hard to stop, obviously. Rondale Moore is part of the receiving core. They recently cut their running back Benjamin. I'm not sure why, but they still got James Conner in the mix. What do you think about who we have to stop and what we got to get done defensively against this offense of the Arizona Cardinals?
Yeah, definitely. The matchup to watch is Charvarius Ward and D-Hop. I mean, that's I don't know if it gets more prime time than that matchup, and hopefully we get to see it a lot, but Charvarius Ward has been so good for the 49ers, just so damn good for the 49ers, but Hopkins is, I mean, there's not a weakness in Hopkins' game. He may not be a burner, but man, he runs clean routes, never drops the ball, unbelievable body control, plays big at the catch point. Hopkins is a true elite receiver and has been for some time. I cannot wait. Whether we get that 10 times, 5 times, 40 times, I want to see that matchup. That's the matchup to me. That's just prime time. I'm going to have my eyes glued to that along with Trent Williams' left leg. But that's where my eyes are going to be glued. And, the other one that I would say is I think Budda Baker and Kittle's a lot of fun. I think that's a good matchup.
Always.
That's going to be good. But Kittle hasn't been as big of a part of the offense, and so that one's a little bit lackluster. But that Hopkins and Ward one, that's the one that's just got me so excited to watch.
Yeah, because now I think that Ward's back to form. It sucked. We were excited to see him in that Kansas City game against his old team, but he may have rushed himself personally and told the doctors that he was ready when he really wasn't, because he did not look like the same Mooney Ward that we're used to seeing this year. He's got swag. He's got toughness. I love watching him out there, and I loved watching Mosley out there too. And unfortunately, Mosley got hurt. It was an excellent duo. Melissa says Budda Baker is hurt. Budda Baker. I'm not sure if he is or not, but I thought I read something about that.
I don't know if he's playing this week, but he had a high ankle sprain. He injured it on 2 weeks ago. They ruled him out like on Tuesday. He wasn't going to play last week. He played last week on a high ankle sprain, believe it or not. So I don't know if he's going to try to do that again, or if that hurt it more, or he just said, hey, that wasn't worth it. I don't know. I don't know if he's going to play or not, but he did play last week, 1 week removed from a high ankle sprain, and this game's on Monday. I think there might be a shot that he could play, unless you've heard otherwise, which is totally fair. But if it's the same scenario as last week, I wouldn't put it past him.
Yeah, definitely. With Hopkins, kind of sucks because when he was on the Texans, the 49ers didn't have any good wide receivers at that point in time initially. And he was my favorite wide receiver in the whole league. And lo and behold, he jumps onto the Cardinals. I was like, oh no, I can't be a fan of this guy anymore. And I was even more pissed because of it. It just felt like the Cardinals got him for nothing. And I was like, what are we doing? Why aren't we trying to get this guy on our squad? Joey said something in the comment. He said Hopkins is a Larry Fitzgerald clone. They do some things of somewhat similar. I love Hopkins' hands, and he can just jump up for anything. And oh man, it just I wish we had him. That's for sure. But I do love Debo and Ayuk, but I wish we'd get Debo involved a bit more. There's a Mike Mcglinchey comment in here. Let's see this. Plenty of Mcglinchey talk out there. Not for good reason though. 49ers Throwback says Mike Mcglinchey got beat by J.J. Watt twice last year. I've watched the tape. Not a surprise. J.J. Watt's a beast. He does beat a lot of people, and we all know how poor Mike Mcglinchey is when it comes to pass protection. I don't think J.J. Watt's playing this game though. Is he available or?
I haven't heard that he's not. I honestly, okay. I really haven't put a lot of effort because like normally Wednesdays when I make the switch in my mind that, hey, okay, Wednesday night, I'm on to the new game. But with the Monday night game, my show with the Arizona content creator getting pushed from Wednesday to Thursday, my mind hasn't flipped to them. Plus, to be honest, man, this whole tell play and all that, I mean, that's been very time consuming.
And for the record, JJ Watt did play the last game. I looked it up. So I don't know. I just, it's funny. Like the past 2 weeks, I've seen all these players from our opposing squads looking almost more injured than we are. It's like I'm always used to us being the injured team, and now we're playing the injured teams. But at the end of the day, it doesn't matter because remember when we played Colt McCoy last year, and the Cardinals were supposed to be the injured squad, and we were supposed to have it easy, and things did not go our way.
No, they did not go our way, and it wasn't even. It's crazy because it's not like Jimmy came out and played horrible. He actually played pretty fine, but I think Kittle fumbled, Ayuk fumbled. There was just fumbles all over the place in that game. It was weird.
Yeah, and the way this last Charger game looked like in the first half, I just got all these weird vibes. It was like bad play after bad play after bad play, and then we somehow flipped the switch and turned it around, which was good. That was nice to see. So what else is going on in this upcoming game? I'll just talk about the Cardinals in general. I researched them a little bit, and I obviously haven't sat and watched them. Other than the highlights of Kyler Murray yelling at DeAndre Hopkins and all kinds of the funny stuff, the internal turmoil that they have going on there. But the Cardinals, as far as we love to run the ball. Obviously, we had great to see Elijah Mitchell come back. By the way, I mean,
yeah, that was huge.
It looked like he hadn't missed a step, but and for the longest time, I almost forgot he was on the team because nobody had said his name, and you never saw him on the sidelines. It was just like. He was just gone, but here he is, dude, showing up right off the bat as if he never got hurt to begin with. And obviously, we have CMC in the mix. On a few runs, he looked pretty good, but the rest of the game, he wasn't all that great. And he did get that little touchdown. But the Cardinals in general, they're kind of an average run-stopping team. They're 14th in the league right now at stopping the run. Not the greatest team at it, but I'm under the impression they'll probably sell us and stack the box like other teams do against the run. But and then against the pass, they're pretty piss poor though. They're 29th against stopping the pass. So do you think we'll pass the ball a bit more in this game, more so than other games, or what?
Yeah, I mean, maybe early on I could see a game plan where they come out early and instead of establishing the run, they establish the pass. I think overall, I don't know. I got a feeling about this game. This is the game where finally the 49ers fully put it together. And instead of being a nail biter at the end of the game, this is the one where it's like they can't coast, but they know the game's pretty much over going into the fourth quarter. And so I think at that point, what you're going to see is a lot of runs to run out the clock type of thing. And so I think at the end of the game, you're going to look at it and say, okay, they ran the ball a ton this game. My gosh, that's great. But reality is when it mattered early on, I could see a situation where they're doing a lot of passing.
Yeah, and like you said with the offense, it's like even though we finally had everybody back together, it might still be a learning curve for the coaches and the players in terms of chemistry. We might be able to give them the benefit of the doubt in the last game to why we weren't racking up points in the scoreboard like everybody thought we would. Now, when we get right down to the freaking 1 yard line or 5 yard line, we better score damn touchdowns though, or like it's like it won't, it's that easy, but. you know, we obviously should have been a little bit more aggressive in the play calling. A lot of people will pretty much agree with that. So we'll see what we do on offense when it comes to that. We got Nick Bosa, obviously. You know, he's got what 8. Jeez, man, he's like number 24th. No, actually, he has the most quarterback hits in the NFL right now, at 24. So, and the Cardinals' offensive line is top 8 in terms of sacks allowed too. So, do you see our pass rush having a big game?
It's funny because the 49ers, it seems like when they're playing a bad offensive line or a beat up offensive line, you're like, oh, this is the week, man. They're going to get 5 sacks. And then it just doesn't happen. This is probably the week where they do it because they're playing against a good pass blocking offensive line. I think, I don't know how much. The thing is with sacks, it's interesting because unless you watch a team down in and down out, there are so many sacks that are credited to a team and everybody assumes, oh, that's the offensive line that caused that. A lot of times it's the quarterback. The quarterback runs into a sack. The quarterback tries to do too much. So you don't know why the sacks are or aren't happening. Is it because Kyler Murray is playing and he's able to escape these? And so now if he's not playing, they're going to get a lot of the offensive line is leaky and now it's going to show. I don't know. I don't know what the reasoning is there, but this is probably the game against conventional wisdom that this is where they're going to get a lot of sacks.
Well, that's so true, though. There are games like that where you think like, oh, this team has their left tackle injured and Bosa's just going to go wild.
Right.
And then it's like, he gets that 1 sack towards the end of the game. It's like you expected a whole lot more. And as for the record, the 49ers are top 4 in the NFL in sacks. So I love Drake Jackson in general. I mean, I kind of went a little extreme. I predicted that he'd get 10 sacks this year. His progression's been a little slower than that, obviously, but he still does look good in spurts. Ibukam got hurt, so we're not going to have him this game. But Jordan Willis came back the last game and looked nice, man. He got a sack, and we had 3 sacks against a team that doesn't give up a lot of sacks, the Chargers. And Herbert does it. You mentioned a lot of times it's the quarterback. We saw Herbert's awareness against us, man. He just knows how to get away from the pressure, and he's not a bad runner when he is escaping pressure either.
Yeah, and I think if I remember correctly, I'm pretty sure one of those sacks came against the backup quarterback when they had that series.
I think
where
so. Yeah.
They had to. I'm pretty sure one of them came in there, so Chase Daniel, yeah. So when he came in the game, I'm pretty sure that's where one of the sacks came in. He tried to scramble, he couldn't make it back to the line of scrimmage, ended up being a sack. But yeah, I mean, it's funny because you get these things where it's like, okay, it happens in fighting a lot, right? Where I liken it to MMA. You get 2 wrestlers, so you're like, oh, it's gonna be a wrestling match, and it's like, well, neither of them want to wrestle because they're both good at it, and so it just ends up being a stand-up fight. This could be a similar thing where it's like, well, you got a good offensive line. You're assuming that they're going to protect their quarterback, and it's like, oh, okay, 5 sacks. you really don't ever know. And styles make matchups, and we'll see. There also are not a lot of Nick Bosa's out there. And if you haven't played a lot of Nick Bosa's, chances are, yeah, maybe you're not giving up a lot of sacks there, but this game could be the one for you.
Exactly. And a lot of people think that Nick Bosa might get his 20 sacks this season. I didn't think he would at one point, but now it kind of seems like he might get there. So we're definitely going to be on the lookout for that. And it should be a lot of fun.
It sucks he missed the game. That one game might be the difference.
He did, definitely did. And honestly, I was like, and because I was typing up my notes actually before I knew about Kyler Murray getting hurt, because it was earlier today I was typing up my questions, and my one question was, did we get away from the wide 9 since we're playing Kyler Murray? Because we saw how Herbert was running on us at one point with that wide 9, but now Kyler Murray's not going to be playing, and it may not even matter, in this case, if it's going to be Colt McCoy or somebody else, whether we run the wide 9, they might not take advantage of it. Channel 49 is here, my friend from Instagram. He puts out little videos on there from time to time. He's very sarcastic. He says, Jimmy G, lifetime contract, baby. What's up, Bashar and Jesse? So cool dude.
What up, man?
I was waiting for you to drop the styles makes fight things too. I was going to hint it or say it, but I figured you were just going to drop it some way, somehow. Zach, as far as the Cardinals go, Zach Ertz is out for the season. I didn't see that coming. Kittle only had two targets this last game. I don't know. I mean, you watched all 22 from time to time. Not sure how much you watched, but I mean, was he getting? I know Derwin James is really good at covering tight ends, but was he not getting open, or what was the story?
Yeah, for this week, I didn't put any credence into what Kittle's doing. What I will say is this: Kittle's had a up and down season, and Derwin James is one of the best. So doesn't shock me that he was able to kind of hold him down. Kittle is still explosive, in my opinion. Kittle still can get open. Kittle is still a pretty good route runner for a tight end. Kittle can do all the things that Kittle has always done, in my opinion. They just don't. The game plan is not built around him anymore. There's so many weapons and so many other options that's just not what they do. The offense isn't ran through Kittle anymore, and sucks because Kittle's fun to watch, but I don't think that he's washed at all. And I think that thought was out there. Grant and I actually went back and forth 2 weeks in a row on it. I told him, I said, hey, I don't think he's washed. He said that he thought he was. I said, all right, well, I'll make sure that I watched the two. At that point, it was the 2 games that he had played in. I'll go back and I'll watch every single Kittle snap and let you know what I think. And I came away saying, no, Kittle's still the great player. He's not getting the ball. It's not a game plan for him. And so that's where Kittle's at in his career right now.
That's kind of how I see it too. I'm really quick. I'm going to play a short little funny little video of Kittle. I had uploaded on my YouTube channel for those of you that didn't see it. And since I'm playing it because it's the whole theme of playing in Mexico and Aztec Stadium, I think it's a nice little funny clip. So I'm going to play it really, really quick.
Wait, we got it before we let you go. See, vamos 49ers. Vamos 49ers! That's it. Christian McCaffrey on the podium right now.
So yeah, Kittle
he's
always
a fun guy, man.
He's hilarious.
He's such a big child, and I love it.
And I've been seeing Joe Staley on those post game shows too, because he does all that crazy funny stuff too. And Mcglinchey used to do funny stuff too when Joe Staley was around. And I don't know, I just see Mcglinchey as this total serious guy now. And
I gotta say, Mcglinchey is not the best right tackle in the game, especially when it comes to pass blocking. But I do feel bad for him. It's funny because I actually try not to talk a lot about Mcglinchey because everybody else talks about him, and I know that he sees this stuff. I know he hears it, and that's got to be, especially if you want to be good, if you're trying to be at your best, which I really gotta imagine that he is. It's got to be really hard to see that day after day, week after week, and not fall into it, not let that get into your mentals. And I just, as a person, I feel for Mike Mcglinchey. I agree with the takes. I think that he's probably not great in some areas, but for the person, I really do feel for Mike Mcglinchey.
Yeah, it's kind of a little opposite with me because I used to defend Mcglinchey a whole lot, especially when he was kicking ass in the run game and amazing run blocker at one point in his career. I just don't see that aspect of his game right now, and I just see that pass blocking getting worse. So, I'm not trying to say it like he's a bad person or I hate him or I dislike him.
No, definitely not.
I'm not really looking forward to having him on the team next year if they go that route, but I am hoping that they do look to better at that position. That's my stance on it. So
I agree. I wholeheartedly agree with all that. And it's not, and here's the thing. I would say a majority of people are not, it's not like they're getting personal. They're giving a football take, which I agree with. I personally would prefer that he's not back next year either from a football standpoint. I always try to point out that these are human beings and that they have emotions just like all of us. Just because they have a bunch of money doesn't mean that they don't feel and see the things that, that are out there. And so I feel for Mcglinchey as a person. I do. But I get it. Everything that's being said about him is completely warranted. It is.
I got you. Shout out to TL. Teron Lewis is in the chat. He's from the 49er Faithful League podcast, 49 Faithful League. Check them out. Subscribe to them. They always got their little giveaways. If you want to win a prize or two, check out the chat. But aside from that, it's just great content. One of my favorite channels to watch, actually, to be honest with you, aside from Jessie Naylor's channel, Last Second Sports, where they bring you everything down to the last second. Something like that. It. It's funny how we have our both little, because I say, well, we get into the minds of 49er fans and we got our own little opening catchphrase.
Hey, you got to listen, you got to play to the name. There's a reason you came up with the name. You got to have a tagline. I like it.
There you go. Exactly. And it just came out of nowhere, you know? And by the way, we had that hip hop conversation earlier. The 49er minded name, actually, I was just trying to brainstorm names, and, you know, I thought of the old school KRS-One song, Criminal Minded, and boom, 49er minded came up. So that's the story of the name, you know? I love KRS-One, Boogie Down Productions, some old school rap for you. So TL says, question for both hosts. Collectively, which team had the better weapons on offense, 2016 Falcons or 2022 49ers? Go ahead. You take it first, Jesse.
2022 49ers. They got 5. Okay, let's go through it real quick. We got Juszczyk. We got Debo. We got Kittle. We got CMC. Trent Williams isn't a weapon, but come on, he's a weapon. You got 5 first-team all-pros. This team has more weaponry. That team had a better quarterback. And so that's where the argument comes in. That's where the questions come in. What's more important? You know, you can have a NASCAR driver driving a Kia, and you could have a regular driver driving a NASCAR. But if that regular driver can't figure out how to get that NASCAR going, then the NASCAR driver in the Kia is probably going to win the race, right? And so when you look at this situation, Jimmy G is fine. He's playing fine, but he's not playing at an MVP level. Matt Ryan was the trigger puller in that one. And I think a great quarterback or great quarterback play can make up for the lack of weapons. And so if you include the quarterback in, I think that instead of saying, hey, it's a no-brainer for the 49ers, you start to hesitate a little bit and say, it's pretty close. So, I don't know. That one's tough. You're muted.
My bad. Sorry about that, guys. We get a little too excited here from time to time. That's why I have Jesse here. So, yeah, I was trying to say was just like, yeah, just imagine Matt Ryan with all these damn weapons. I just think it's not even close, man.
Prime Matt Ryan with these weapons. Oh my gosh.
Yep. Yeah. Oh yeah. So we're just gonna take a couple little questions here and there, and then we're gonna do a score predictions and wrap up this show because we all have families to go to. But we do appreciate. I appreciate the huge turnout on a personal level. It's rare that I get a big turnout like this. So. Becky's in the house. Say what's up, Becky. So she's nice. Somi's here. He says, I like Jesse. He looks like Limp Bizkit. I hear that a lot from people because I'll be like, yeah, I'm gonna have so and so on my show and be like, oh, you mean the guy that looks like Limp Bizkit? Yeah, that guy, Jesse. Remember?
Like, you know that like the lead singer of Limp Bizkit had a name. It was Fred Durst. But I get that. I get that a lot, and I get Tim Tebow. Like when I don't wear a hat, I've got the hard part and the hair to the side. People are like, oh, Tim Tebow, and I'm like, I don't know. I don't see the Tim Tebow. I guess I could get the Fred Durst thing, but the Tim Tebow one, I don't know if I get that one.
I don't say it with pride, but I really don't say it. But a few people told me Brian Brunskill, so or I get Tony Soprano or whatever. I don't know.
But hold on, if it's Brunskill, then it's also Mac because in the offseason, Brunskill got confused for Mac and vice versa. So
okay. Nobody
technically, it's like you're a trio.
I think I act like Mac because he's like a kind of like a funny. Kind of guy, or he tries to be funny at least. You know, I like having those guys around. I know John V had a question. It was back to our Mcglinchey, Joe Staley thing. He said, Bash and Jesse, do you guys think that Staley was a benefactor to Mcglinchey's game? You can go ahead and answer that one.
100%. Staley was the leader. He completely took Mcglinchey under his wing, and even today they still talk. It sounds like they're really, really good friends. 100%. I think Staley brought the best out of Mcglinchey for sure, and. Also Mcglinchey's coming off of a major injury. So you got to have some grace with that. Mcglinchey's not the best right tackle, but he was a pretty good run blocker. And even that's starting to feel like it's taken a little bit of a slip. So are we not going to factor in the injury at all? Like, I think those things are real. I mean, that was a near career ending injury that the man had. So give him some grace there, but also probably give him some grace on another team and not ours.
The way he finished that off was hilarious. I was so passive aggressive. And we've come full circle on the show. We started off with Trent Williams, and here we go. Trent Williams, that like button, and let's have some score predictions before we wrap this up. I see this as the game, and I'm going out on a limb on this, guys. And I already typed up the score prediction on the 49 Faithfully podcast. I'm going to stick with it. I think this is the game that we make up for the points that we left on the board last time. And, I say 35-14. We, another week in the system with all these new weapons. And we just find a way, the running game kicks in. We start doing some play action, get Kittle involved. I just see us, hey, 35-14. That's my prediction. And it's a home game for us. 82% of the fans are Niner fans instead. So,
yeah, I'm leading with you. I don't think this game is going to be particularly close. I don't know if we get that high in points, but I'm going to go 27-16 Niners.
Okay, there you go. So, hey, not too bad. At the end of the day, a W is a W, but it will be nice to get one of those prettier wins because a lot of people weren't too happy walking out of the last game. They just thought we should have racked up more points, and I do agree with that. So we got some people in the chat. We're going to wrap this up pretty soon, guys. Actually, right now we're going to do it, but I just want to say what's up to some guys who trickled in late. You can go ahead and rewind the show if you want. You're more than welcome to do that. C's in the house says, what's good? I think that might be somebody I know from Twitter. I'm not going to say your name if you want to be incognito. But Mike Mosley says, hey, Jesse, left leg, how's it going? That might be one of your good friends.
Hey, Mike, yeah, he's talking about the Trent's left leg. But Mike, hit me up again on DM, man. I'm sorry. I know I kind of feel like I left you hanging on the whole content creation thing, and I definitely want to help out where I can. So if you're still looking to go that route, hit me up again in DM, and we'll hash some things out, bro.
Okay. All right. So really quick, I just want to flash up these predictions for the fans and for the people in the craft. So people in the chat. TL says 33-17. Del Fetty says 40-17. Okay, he's got more points than I do. Mahoney, being conservative, says 20-17. What up, Master Any Craft? How you doing? We're gonna wrap this up soon, bro. But great to have you on. He's a good friend of mine. 24-6 from John Lynch. Okay, all right. So thank you very much, Ryan. Really appreciate everybody in the chat, the participation, the questions. I can't read all the comments that come on, especially when it gets super busy like this. But I'll try my best to within the flow of conversation. But I'm very thankful for having you guys on here. Extremely thankful for having Jesse on here. It's been a minute, been a year, I think, actually.
It's been a while.
Yeah, maybe I should have you on again before this season ends, if you don't mind.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, because it's always a lot of fun. It's always great conversation. And what do you got going on before we wrap this up, man? Anything you want to tell the people out there? Let them know.
Yeah, definitely. If you're not subscribed or you don't know where I come from, come over to Last Second Sports on YouTube. Tomorrow I'll be live with a Arizona Cardinals content creator. I always do a weekly Behind Enemy Lines, so I'm looking forward to that. And yeah, I think I love that show. It's one of my favorite shows because you get to just sit back and learn about your opponent, and they know so much about their teams, the ins and the outs, and just like we do as content creators. So it's really cool to get just a full perspective of what you're going into, how that fan base is feeling. Really, you get to learn a lot about the opponent for the week. So I enjoy that. Definitely tap in over there. And I'll say this, anybody who may be here for the first time, make sure that you show Bash some love, give him a like and a subscribe. It goes a long way into helping us content creators out. And I think a lot of people come into streams and they watch regularly, but they don't subscribe for whatever reason. I don't think that it's front and center with people's minds. Subscribing is a big deal in the algorithm and YouTube taking your content and pushing it out to more people so that they can see it. So if you can, always, if you like somebody and you're in their chats regularly, always give them a sub and a like, because it really does help.
Yeah, thank you very much for that. And actually, on my YouTube analytical data, only 50% of my viewers are actually subscribed to me. So it always helps.
Very typical.
Always helps to have an extra subscriber out there. And speaking of subscribers, I dropped the link in the chat because I forgot to do it earlier. Niner Sickness unfortunately lost his channel to some stupid, idiotic hacker out there. So I dropped the link in the chat. If you guys can please subscribe to Niner Sickness. Also, Wayne Breezy lost his channel as well. And definitely check out his new channel. Subscribe to all these guys because nobody deserves to fall victim to that law. Oh, what's up, Honda? A long time no see, man. I haven't seen you. I've never seen you on my channel before, but good buddy of mine from back in the days of the Candlestick Tailgates.
Nice.
Good to see him on. It's kind of late. You got to rewind got rewinded, but it was an excellent show. Thank you, Jesse. Really appreciate you for coming on. Thank you, everybody, for watching 49er Minded, where we get into the minds of 49er fans. So keep repping those 49ers and stay 49er minded. Peace. Come on, 49er fans, let's get it.
Because it's 49er mind.
We gotta do this one time for the Empire.
It's 49er mind. It's 49er mind.
We gotta get that brick by brick real quick.
49er mind.
Yeah. Yo, we can't listen to them haters, man.
49er mind.
We from the Bay.
49er mind.
We them San Francisco 49ers.
49er mind.
We got that red and gold blood inside.